Chapter 1. The Passage. Part 1. None of the 50 or so guests wore shoes. The invitation specifically ruled them out. It was, after all, a beach wedding, and Mercer Mann, the bride, wanted sand between the toes. The suggested attire was beach chic, which may have had one meaning in Palm Beach and another in Malibu, and probably something else in the Hamptons. But on Camino Island, it meant anything goes, but no shoes. The bride herself wore a low-cut white linen gown with an entirely bare back, and since she had been on the island for the past 2 weeks, she was superbly tanned and toned. Stunning. Thomas, her groom, was just as lean and bronzed. He wore a brand-new powder blue seersucker suit, a starch white dress shirt, no tie, and, of course, no shoes. Thomas was just happy to be included. He and Mercer had been together for 3 years, sharing an apartment for the past 2. And when Mercer finally got tired of waiting for a proposal, she had asked him, 3 months earlier, "What are you doing on Saturday, June 6th at 7 p.m.? "Well, I don't know. I'll have to check." Say nothing. What? Say you're doing nothing. Okay, I'm doing nothing. Why? Because we're getting married at the beach. Since he was not exactly a detail person, he had little input into the planning of the wedding. However, had he been detail-oriented, it would not have mattered. Life with Mercer was wonderful in so many ways, not the least of which was the absence of responsibility for making decisions. The pressure was off. A guitarist strummed love songs as the guests sipped champagne. She was a creative writing student of Mercer's at Ole Miss and had volunteered for the wedding. A server in a straw hat topped off their glasses. He, too, was studying under Mercer, though she had yet to break the news that his fiction was too weird. If she were a blunt person, she would point out that he was likely to earn more money tending bar at small weddings than trying to write novels. But she had yet to gain tenure or the ability to discourage students with little promise. Mercer taught because she needed a salary. She had published a collection of short stories and 2 novels. She was searching for a third. Her last one, Tessa, had been a bestseller, and its success had prompted Viking Press to give her a 2-book contract. Her editor at Viking was still waiting for the next story idea. So was Mercer. She had some money in the bank, but not enough to retire, not enough to buy the freedom to write full-time with no worries. A few of her guests had that freedom. Myra and Lee, the grand dames of the island's literary mafia, had been together for decades and were living off royalties. Back in their glory days, they had cranked out 100 steamy romance novels under a dozen pseudonyms. Bob Cobb was an ex-felon who served time in a federal pen for bank fraud. He wrote hard-boiled crime stories with a penchant for prison violence. When drinking, which was practically all the time, he claimed he had not pursued honest labor in 20 years. He was a writer. Perhaps the wealthiest of the group was Amy Slater, a young mother of 3 who'd hit pay dirt with a vampire series. Amy and her husband, Dan, had taken a chunk of their money and built a splendid house on the beach about a half-mile from Mercer's cottage. When they heard about the wedding, they insisted on hosting it along with the reception. Like every bride, Mercer envisioned a lovely walk down the aisle with her father. He, though, got cut from the ceremony, as did the aisle. Mr. Mann was a complicated soul who had never spent time with his wife or daughters. When he complained that the wedding might conflict with his busy schedule, Mercer said, never mind, they would have more fun without him.